In life, we often find ourselves paralyzed by uncertainty, doubt, negativity, and fear, unsure of which way to turn or whether we should move at all. And this sense of paralysis is something almost everyone experiences at some point. It's the feeling of being stuck in a cycle, unable to break free from the grip of self-doubt and insecurity. But what if I told you that these very struggles, this tension between doubt and desire, can be the very thing that propels you toward discovering who you truly are? Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant minds in psychology, believed that true personal growth doesn't come from avoiding fear or uncertainty, but from confronting and understanding them, by facing the shadow of our unconscious mind. Jung introduced the concept of the shadow, those hidden, suppressed parts of ourselves that we often deny or repress, the aspects of our personality that we feel ashamed of or frightened to acknowledge, but which are just as much a part of us as the more acceptable traits we present to the world. According to Jung, the shadow isn't something to be feared or avoided. It's something to be integrated into our conscious selves, because the parts of ourselves that we hide from the world are often the very aspects that hold the keys to our personal growth and transformation. But how do we confront this shadow? And what does it mean to truly become your true self in the context of Jung's teachings? To understand this, we must first realize that most of us spend a large part of our lives living behind a mask, the persona. The persona is the outward face we show to the world, the roles we play to gain acceptance, love, or approval from others. But this mask is not the whole of who we are. The persona, as Jung suggests, is often built to satisfy external expectations and societal norms, and while it can serve us in the world, it can also prevent us from knowing ourselves on a deeper level. The problem with living behind a mask is that we begin to lose touch with our authentic selves, and in doing so, we start to feel disconnected, unfulfilled, and lost. Jung believed that to become your true self, you must be willing to look beyond the persona, to confront those aspects of your psyche that you have repressed or ignored, and to accept the full range of your humanity, both the light and the dark. This is where Jung's idea of individuation comes in, a lifelong process of integrating the unconscious with the conscious mind, of becoming whole, of making peace with the parts of ourselves that we have previously denied or rejected. Individuation, Jung argued, is the journey toward self-realization, a journey that requires courage, introspection, and the willingness to face our fears, our insecurities, and the unknown parts of our psyche that we may not want to acknowledge. The path to individuation is not easy. It requires the courage to look deeply within and to embrace the parts of ourselves that may be uncomfortable, painful, or even frightening. But only by doing this can we free ourselves from the constraints of the persona and live more authentically. Now, you might be wondering, how can this apply to our everyday lives? How can we begin to take action and move toward becoming our true selves when we are overwhelmed by self-doubt and fear? This is where the ancient wisdom of Stoicism offers a powerful complement to Jung's psychology. The Stoics, philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, believe that while we cannot control external events or the actions of others, we can control our responses to those events, and it is in mastering our own responses that we find freedom and clarity. The Stoic approach to life is one of acceptance and resilience, a focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, our perceptions, and an understanding that suffering, pain, and fear are not to be avoided, but to be confronted with grace and wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, famously said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the challenges and obstacles we face in life are not barriers to our growth. They are opportunities for it. This Stoic mindset aligns beautifully with Jung's philosophy of individuation, Both teach us that the difficulties we encounter are not just hurdles to overcome, but essential parts of the process of becoming who we truly are. When we encounter doubt, fear, or uncertainty, instead of running from them, we should lean into them, reflect on them, and use them as stepping stones to greater understanding and self-awareness. The Stoics taught that we should not be slaves to our emotions, but rather masters of them. And by practicing mindfulness and introspection, we can begin to see our fears and anxieties for what they truly are, not threats, but invitations to grow and expand. Carl Jung, one of the most influential figures in psychology, had a profound understanding of human nature, including our tendencies to procrastinate and our struggles with laziness. Procrastination, laziness, and the inner resistance to pursuing one's potential are concepts that Jung explored in the context of the unconscious mind, the ego, and the process of individuation, the journey toward becoming one's true, integrated self. In this expanded discussion, we'll dive deeper into the principles Jung offered, both directly and indirectly, about procrastination and laziness, provide further insights into his ideas, and explore practical techniques for overcoming these challenges. We'll also examine how the ultimate potential for personal transformation lies in overcoming procrastination and stepping into the power that comes from conscious growth. For Jung, procrastination is rarely just a simple act of avoidance. It often masks deeper, unconscious fears, desires, or unresolved conflicts. These issues may stem from childhood trauma, societal conditioning, or deeply ingrained beliefs that inhibit growth. When we procrastinate, it's often because we are avoiding something deeper within ourselves. Perhaps we fear failure, feel inadequate, or have been conditioned to avoid confronting certain aspects of life. Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." This quote implies that procrastination might be an unconscious defense mechanism against self-acceptance. We procrastinate when we resist confronting the tasks or goals that would force us to challenge the parts of ourselves that are difficult to accept, whether it's our vulnerabilities, our ambitions, or the parts of us that have yet to be realized. Jung viewed resistance to change as a common feature in human psychology. Procrastination may be a symptom of resistance to inner transformation. Jung's idea of individuation suggests that each person has an innate potential to evolve into a fuller, more authentic version of themselves. But this process involves a confrontation with the parts of ourselves that are underdeveloped or hidden, our shadow. The shadow refers to the parts of ourselves that we reject, suppress, or fail to integrate into our conscious personality. It might include our impulses, desires, weaknesses, or unresolved traumas. When we avoid change or growth through procrastination, we are often avoiding the confrontation with the shadow. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Jung believed that the human psyche needs meaning to thrive. When we lack a sense of purpose or feel disconnected from our deeper selves, we may fall into states of laziness or apathy. This lack of meaning may be reflected in procrastination, where we delay action simply because the task lacks significance to us. Jung's philosophy posits that people find energy and motivation when they connect with something larger than themselves, whether that's a personal goal, a deeper calling, or a sense of mission. He suggested, "The meaning of life is to be found in the active engagement with the unconscious, with the self and the world. Without this engagement, we feel a sense of emptiness that manifests as laziness or avoidance."